Ed,
Good morning. How you doing, Alex?
morning. Good to see you, sir.
We got a good morning, it looks like.
I know, beautiful sunshine. I'm excited. This has been a long time in the making for us. So me and the family. So I sent you the 3D studio, which
Yes.
if you guys haven't checked out, you have to check this out. Their 3D studio is absolutely incredible. So I'm with Ed Nudek today with Morton Buildings, and we're finally going to look at putting a structure up on our ground. And we're gonna walk through all the details. We're gonna get into the site prep, building prep. We're gonna talk through everything I don't know that I need to know, and you're the man to tell me.
Do the best I can, that's for sure.
So it's a beautiful little track rolling. I wanna be a little cautious because this is a really good tillable income property, so we don't wanna get too invasive, but what I'd like to start with, as I showed you in the 3D Studio printout, is probably something like a 30 by 40 storage facility for some like a side-by-side, a small mid-sized tractor, just other equipment that we're gonna need while we're either hunting or here recreating. But I would also like to consider and get your expertise on a future potential build site for maybe a secondary residence or kind of a, a camp, if you will, quote unquote, but something that we could maybe finish out and have some living quarters in and things like that.
So what we're looking at here is where to put the structure on your site here. Over there, you'll see there's quite a bit of change in elevation there. So that's gonna require more fill. I like that nice knoll over there, but that's gonna end up with a very lengthy driveway and really cut things up here if you are gonna use some of this for rental for crop farming, things like that. One of the things we wanna really think about too is drainage. We wanna pick a spot where we're gonna make sure the water can run away.
That makes sense, yeah.
Also, as far as the driveway, the nice thing here, the way the main highway is here, we can probably come off there pretty much anyways. We'll wanna check with the county to find out what the requirements are. So what I like to do early on is I like to let's kind of walk the property here a little bit. Maybe we'll stake out the four corners just to give you an idea of how it could set on the property. We may or may not pull a transit out, this being a little more level, but it's always kind of interesting to know how much fill it would be required. I'm sure there's quite a lot of topsoil here, which is great for you renting the land out, but it will require a little bit more site development because you want to strip all this organic matter, topsoil, get down to the hard pan, and then build up from there. Okay. And that goes for the driveway also.
This is exactly what I need to hear, because this is all stuff I wouldn't even considered. So thank you for kind of walking us through this. But yeah, we can start wherever you want and just take a little look here.
Okay, let me pull out my, let's pull out some stakes and we'll take some measurements here, okay?
Awesome.
So this sure gives us a good footprint. There's your 30 by 40. If we wanted to, we could park your truck in there and my vehicle in there so you can really get a good idea of the space. Typically, you could easily place, 4 full-size vehicles in here without much problem with this size of a building. But you're gonna find the space is gonna fill up quickly.
Yeah.
The way we've kind of designed it, with us talking on the phone, and I know from your drawing you have a 612 roof pitch, which gives you a nice appearance here. It's going to look really sharp here, but we could potentially think about putting a mezzanine in it for storage up above.
Yeah.
But given the fact that your site is so level here, for you to take advantage of that and have everything on one floor versus taking interior space up with stairs. So let's go back and just talk about the driveway a little bit.
Yeah.
Now you positioned your door on an end wall, which I think is really important. I grew up in Buffalo, New York. We get a little more snow there than you do here, but you want to consider snow sliding off in front of your doors. I'm not a big fan of the snow bars. Some people are, that's an opinion, but having the doors there. So when we bring our driveway in, we're gonna have to make sure that we create a fairly large area here so you can square up to back things in. Like we stated earlier, we'll come in, we'll strip all this topsoil off. What we want to do is we want to get way beyond the footprint of the building here with what we call a structural fill. I believe that's our high spot there. I bet you from that corner there to this corner here, we're probably dropping 10 to 12 inches. That's just my opinion. We're going to find out. So that'll tell us how much fill we're going to need to bring this up to the same height is that corner over there. There we go, okay. I'm going to let you be the
Note keeper.
note keeper there.
All right.
Let's see what we got here. Just on the, there we go. This is 3 foot 4 inches there for that one. Pretty close. Yeah, I caught right on the knuckle here for my story pole here. My great stick. All right, this is the one I really want to see. Actually, there we're 2 foot 11 inches. Wow, that's a lot more level than I thought it was.
That's not bad, is
no,
it?
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
This is super level, which you think that would be a blessing, but yeah, that's 2 foot 11 also. So really, it's almost level every corner there, which is pretty impressive.
I knew I picked a good
Yes.
spot.
So basically then what we're gonna have to do though, let me see if I can catch that road one more time. Let's see if I can get lucky here. 2 foot 10 inch there. I mean 1 foot 10 inches, I'm sorry.
1 foot 10 inch.
Yep, 1 foot 10 inch there. So that's right down here. So that means that this is a foot 3 inches higher than over there,
Yeah.
which is good. Actually, that's bad technically, excuse me, because that means this is higher, so that means the water's
We're
going to
gonna have
run
to
that
build
lot.
up
Yeah.
for more runoff.
Yes.
But even all
Yes.
things considered,
Yeah.
though, that's still not bad.
No,
I mean,
that's
we're
not
talking
bad at
about-
all.
Yeah.
No. And we could move the building back a little bit and pick up a little bit more elevation going back there. too.
Okay.
For the most part, you have a very level area. Let me go back to here though and kind of explain something here. Just use that for an illustration. You wouldn't want that much of a slope away from your building because it'd be harder to mow around it. Obviously, you don't have that in this case here. But what we want is anywhere from a 5 to a 10% slope away from the building. So in 10 feet, a 5% slope is 6 inches. So you'd be looking like a slope about like that, going away. That little bit of slope is more than enough to get the water
What
to
you
run
need.
away.
Okay.
But now, keep in mind that corner was what, 3 inches different than this corner here?
A little bit more. It was yeah. No, you're exactly right. Yeah.
3
yeah,
inches.
mhm.
So this was 3 foot 1. That was
Out at the road was 110 by the road edge, and it was 2 feet 5 inches just inside the.
yeah, okay, 110, and you have 3.1. Is that what we
Yeah,
had there?
that's right.
So we got what, 13 inches difference there?
Yep.
So 13 inches, just to get this up even to the road, you're to that point right there. So then to come up another, that brings you up 6 inches above the road out there.
Okay.
With your slope. I've seen so many people with just crazy sharp angles coming away, and that's just not conducive to mow around or even for us to safely
Sure.
build a building. What my next step is, or between the two of us, we have to decide who's going to have a conversation with the county and zoning to make sure that whatever structure we put here, because it's more that we talked a little bit about, you know, where they allow you to put the driveway, what kind of cut, but then we got to look at, in this particular municipality, not too far from here, I see a whole housing development. Let's hope that that's zone B and you're zone A and you don't have the same requirements as them.
Okay.
Because you got to find that out too. There's usually different zones within the zone.
Yeah. Sure.
So you want to find out how tall of a building we could build, how big of a building, you know, if they're going to let you have an accessory building right now without any living quarters, or if you're going to have some living quarters in it. When we mobilize, of course, you know, we'll come in here, we'll unload all the material, obviously. Then we'll set up what we call batter boards. And that allows us to run string lines. And that's when they'll get it perfectly square at that point in time.
Gotcha.
Backing up a little bit, one of the things I'll do with my site guy is we'll establish a final benchmark. We were kind of talking about it, but I didn't use that phrase. But we'll look at the road elevation, we'll look at this, and we'll establish where top of finished floor is going to be. That way my crew knows when they build the building where that's going to be, and other contractors on the site will know. So for example, if you decide you're going to have any subgrade plumbing, they know exactly where finished floor. Things like that. So everybody needs to be aware of that. I don't know here if you will get that involved and you know, with what the use of this building is, but it is something that everybody needs to be aware of. Let's talk about that porch really quick here,
Okay.
before we stop here. And you know, I'll leave some stakes here for you, and you can start, you know, parking some vehicles in here and playing around. But
Yeah.
I think on there you had an 8-foot porch laid out.
Yep.
Is what you had.
That's what I was thinking.
So and it really depends, and this is really important. You need to talk to your wife on this. So the 8-foot is to the outside of our column. So from the inside of our column to the building, there'll be 7 foot 6 inches. Now in your drawing, I noticed that you put that ATV there. Your ATV will easily, if you wanted to pull it in here, park it underneath here, you could.
But not room for much else.
A couple chairs, some things like that. But if you're gonna send her down to Lowe's or Home Depot, and if you're thinking about having some nice patio furniture out here, you better start getting the dimension of that, because it may not fit underneath here.
So understanding, you know, this is the kind of the storage facility, kind of home base, like I said, for when we're up here hunting or recreating. If you were to either add on living quarters or create a secondary structure, and this is kind of where we're leaving this, where would you go?
The way I'd kind of envision it when I pulled up was kind of L-ing off this over here, and having, you know, your bedrooms there, and then kind of a nice open dining area, kitchen here with some nice beautiful windows facing your view also.
Talk to me a little bit about what that would look like. So if we construct this year or two down the road, we decide to go ahead and make that addition, what kind of process would go in? How, I guess my main question is, how difficult or easy would it be to make that addition?
That'd be very easy to do, yeah, because, you know, everything we do is clear span. That structure, this new structure would not be supported by that structure or vice versa. You'd be able to come right off there real easily.
This has been incredible, Ed. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, and I'm glad you like the site. I'm glad you feel you got a high level of confidence that it isn't going to take too much headache to go ahead and get it level. I mean, the driveway was eye-opening to me alone. As I kind of assumed maybe you come in with this grader, you grade it off, level it, pour some rock down, and you're good to go. It's awesome to hear that you guys are like thinking through at that level, and how that ties into the runoff and how that ties into where you're building it up. It's just it speaks volumes, I think, to the level of quality that you guys are bringing to the project as a whole. So I'm excited. This is gonna be fun.
Good. I'll get working on some pricing for you and get back to you soon.
Thank you.
There we go, buddy.
Appreciate it.